If your email doesn't send, doesn't receive, or ends up in spam, the problem is almost always with the DNS. Today, you will acquire the knowledge on how to accurately point your domain to Roxygen's email service without encountering any errors. Greetings, fellow wizards, and a warm welcome to VPS Wizard. It is said in legends that those who disregard the enchanting magic of likes, subscriptions, and comments may ultimately find themselves facing digital curses. Therefore, do not take any risks. Please subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell. Without any further delay, let us begin. Before any setup, you need to have an appropriate email plan for your project. I already have a video here on the channel explaining which email plan to choose, showing the differences between the available options. If you haven't watched it yet, I recommend you watch this video first. In fact, I've included a 20% discount coupon for the first purchase when signing up on Hostage. If you have an account, make another to use this coupon. You can access the coupon via the QR code or the link in the video description. With an appropriate strategy established, we can now advance to the subsequent phase. If you already have a domain, you will need to access the DNS zone of the company where it was purchased. In my case, I registered a domain through Hostage itself, but I will point the name servers to Cloudflare, as that's where I manage my DNS. Something very important is that if your domain is registered with one company, but uses a name server from another provider, DNS changes must be made where the domain is connected, not necessarily where it was purchased. If you are using the default name servers from Hostage, which are shown here on the screen, and have an active website hosting, many of these records are created automatically. However, you will be able to check if these records exist, or you can add the Cloudflare configuration. At this particular stage, the third part involves the actual setup of the necessary DNS records. The initial step that I will undertake is to direct this new domain over to Cloudflare. As we are currently situated in the domain management section, specifically within the DNS and name service part of the hosting, I will proceed to change name service and select the new records available here. However, prior to that, it is essential for me to access the Cloudflare website, where I will proceed to add a domain. Thus, in practice, before we configure the pointers, it is necessary to incorporate the email service for this particular domain. Here on the roster platform, I will be utilizing a complementary email service. I will proceed to incorporate a new website here, because complementary email services are provided by adding a site. We are about to incorporate a new website at this location. I shall configure it as an empty, customized site. I will bypass this segment here and proceed to input my domain name. I shall wait for a brief moment. I will proceed to select my domain. It is going to prompt me to add a TXT record. Subsequently, I will copy this particular record. Here then, in my active DNS zone on Hostinger, I'm not using Cloudflare yet. I will add this record just to confirm. So I'll place it here, select the DNS record, go to TXT, and then add this value. I will wait about 2 to 5 minutes and then check if it has been recognized. I refreshed the web page and subsequently proceeded by clicking to advance to the subsequent step, and it had already refreshed to indicate that the website had been successfully created. Now, we shall proceed to the email section, where this initial segment will be displayed. If you already have an active email service, it will appear here at the top for you to activate the free email. I will click here to start free. I am going to select a domain name. Sure. I have just entered the address that I desire for this email account and the password that I want. I will then proceed to click the create button. After doing this, we can complete this action here. Certainly, at this juncture, we now have the email account successfully activated with Roxygen. We can already see here in mailboxes. Here we can see the email boxes that have already been created within this plan. And here we have all the settings. But at this moment, to connect the domain, we go here to connect domain. And here we are able to observe the essential records. Given that, in this particular instance, I'm already utilizing the hosting name server and have added a site, these records will already be displayed as default. In these 3 tabs, I can see all the records needed to connect the domain. However, now I will point to Cloudflare, and this will simulate what will happen with many users who have an external domain that is not active as hosting on the hosting service. So now returning to the Cloudflare website, I've successfully logged in and we are proceeding to the domain section. Here within the domains area, we will subsequently add a new domain. After choosing the appropriate field to incorporate a domain, we will subsequently input our domain. In this instance, we will input vpswizard.com, which serves as the address we shall utilize for this particular test. We'll have three options here. We have the capability to utilize this particular option to transfer over all the records from the previous provider, or if you do not possess the correct records and prefer to handle it manually, we can opt for this second alternative. If you already possess the accurate records, as I do here with hosts, to expedite the process I will utilize this option, but you can alternatively input them manually. Thus, we will be redirected to this particular section. On Cloudflare there exist various paid plans, however for our specific requirements, their complimentary plan is already more than sufficient. Let's pick the plan. One important thing about Cloudflare is that it is a platform that helps manage DNS and improves the security and performance of the site, as well as email. Therefore, it simplifies the process of preventing attacks on a website as well. That is the reason why I consistently prefer to utilize Cloudflare. Here it has already imported the DNS records that existed with Roshinger. If in your case you use another provider, it will import the records that exist with that other provider. In this particular instance, we already possess multiple records. In the event that the address is unavailable in your specific situation, you will proceed to add the records that are being requested. Therefore, in this situation, when you navigate to Connect Domain, it will prompt you for the anticipated records. At this point, you will proceed to duplicate the records. For instance, in this particular case, the MX record is the one accountable for the delivery of messages. It will be delivered to your inbox if it possesses this particular record. There must not be any additional MX records apart from these. So, going back here to Cloudflare, we are going to check the MX records here. There exist two distinct types. If you do not possess a record, you will navigate here to add record and then select the specific type of record. In this particular instance, it was MX. Let's leave this empty or enter the domain name and then enter the value. In my particular situation here, it would indeed be vpswizard.com. www should not be used for this type of record. Therefore, there is a priority assigned to 5 for this particular type of record. However, since this record is already in existence, here's the priority. I will not create it once more, just illustrating it as an example. After that, just come here and save. You'll examine all key records. Here, the Sender Policy Framework, SPF record, is crucial to ensure the message isn't marked as spam by the recipient. It acts as a security measure. You will replicate this TXT type record and register it in an identical manner on Cloudflare or your domain service provider. Subsequently, you will proceed to add these 3 CNAME type records. Let's create an example here. We are currently proceeding to add a CNAME type record. Oops, let's navigate over here. Let's modify the record type. Let's proceed to the CNAME. At this point in the name field, we won't enter the full domain. Instead, we'll only input the subdomain address specifically requested by Hostager. Let's duplicate the second value field in that location. And we will incorporate the value, which is the destination. Here in the proxy, you should leave it deactivated. This option doesn't change anything else, just these 2 fields. And then you will save. You will do the same process for the other 2 records. This particular record guarantees that the server which receives your message verifies it as an authenticated email, thereby confirming its security, which assists in preventing it from being marked as spam. After configuring all the requested records, it is important to understand DNS propagation. These modifications may require up to 24 hours to completely propagate throughout the internet and your service providers. During this period, the email may function partially, there may be temporary instability, and some tests may even fail initially, but this is normal. The email usually stabilizes after about 24 hours. So now you've taken another step toward becoming an experienced internet wizard. Comment below which other topic you'd like to see in the upcoming videos. Your question could become the next content on the channel. Thank you very much for watching until now, and see you next time.